Financially raw, real, authentic wisdom with Lawrence Oberholzer from Retire Rich and Happy.
So I'm looking forward to today's show, sharing some wisdom with you. And last week we started discussing the 5 steps to retire rich and happy. The 5 steps just quickly being: invest in yourself. Step 2, minimize your risk. Step 3, become an entrepreneur. Step 4, invest in income generating assets. And step 5, pay it forward. So today we're going to talk about step 2, minimize your risk. And we're going to talk about why do people not focus more energy on or focus on minimizing their risk, and why it's important to do so when you start building your financial security. Fricky says, good morning, all looking forward to the show. Thanks, Fricky. Thanks for listening as per usual. Yes, guys, so if you do want to engage, want to make a comment or ask me some questions, you are welcome to. You can go onto the shout out button on the browser, click there, and we will immediately get your message and I can respond to that. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Retire Happy. Also on Instagram, I Retire, and then on YouTube, all of these shows gets put onto our YouTube channel, so you are welcome to go and watch any of these shows. We're going to talk about step 2 of our process or our 5-step process to retire rich and happy, which is minimizing your risk. Now, there are lots. I mean, you can go Google or go search books on financial wellness or financial wealth or creating wealth. And there's all of these experts and gurus that tell you what to invest in and how to build passive income and how to create wealth and all of these things. But it's very difficult to find somebody that actually explains why it's important for you to minimize your risk. They sort of just glance over it and they don't really talk about it. And the reason for that is that the whole thing about minimizing your risk is not glamorous, it's not exciting, it's not this that gets the blood boiling and we go, oh, we're going to make so much money. It's so mundane and boring in certain aspects. So, but I would put an argument together that it is probably more important to make sure that this part of your financial plan is in place than it is initially to determine exactly what you're going to invest in and how you're going to grow your money. Because it doesn't matter what plans you have. You might have the best investment plan in the world. You might have the best business plan in the world. But if you start putting these steps in place or this plan in place and something unforeseen happens, you get into a car accident, you get a stroke, any of these things that could happens, and you haven't placed things in place or put things in place to make sure that you are sorted out and your life can continue in the same manner as you were used to, none of these plans will come to fruition. Everything falls flat. So minimizing your risk is the foundation of your financial plan. It is the core that you first have to build. You can build the greatest mansion on earth. I can start here, take a grass and just start putting bricks down and start building this massive mansion. Have the greatest plans drawn up by an architect of what this plan or what this building that I'm going to build is going to look like. But if I haven't laid a solid foundation to build on, how quickly or how long do you think that building will last? How quickly is it going to fall apart? So without a solid foundation, your building, your financial building that you are creating over the next 10 years will not be there for very long. Because if one of these things happen, everything fall apart if you don't have your building blocks in place. So why don't people want to look at their risk? Why is there so many people who are completely insured? And I think I've boiled it down to 3 reasons why people don't want to look at their risk. The first thing is that people have this idea that it won't happen to me. So it happens to everybody, or it can happen to anybody else, but it's probably not going to happen to me. I wouldn't get into a car accident, or I'm not going to get a stroke. I'm healthy. Or the best one that I hear so often when I talk to clients and we start doing a risk assessment for them is, I'm not planning on dying soon. Now, I've never heard, or very seldom heard, anybody plan that they are going to die soon. So if I had a rand for every time somebody told me, I'm not planning on dying soon, I would be a very, very rich guy. Guys, this happens to people. It happens to everyone. At some point in time, something bad is going to happen. And I know that sounds morbid, but that's the reality we have to face. We can't go through life with, it won't happen to me attitude. Because what if it does happen? You have to make sure that you have your building blocks in place, your foundation is solid, that when things go wrong, you are sorted out and you are covered for that. It is like a parachute. If you don't have your parachute the day that you actually need it, you're probably never going to need that parachute again. So you can't say, well, I'll sort it out when the need arises. You need to sort it out before the need arises. You can't then. You know how many times I've heard of people that we had a client the other day that phoned and said that they've now been diagnosed, or a friend of theirs have been diagnosed with cancer, and they have to go for a specific operation to remove the tumor. Can we put them on medical aid? Because they urgently need to have this operation. Now, guys, there's no way that they will put you on a medical aid and immediately cover you for that. Which means for at least a year, that person has to live with that problem to get it sorted. At least. So by the time you need it, it's too late to do anything about it. So don't think about or don't tell yourself that it won't happen to you. It will, or it can happen to all of us. One of the discussions I've had with clients before is say to them, you know what, the reality that I have to face is if I have 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 clients, I know for a fact that some of those clients will die every year, and we're just looking at one area now. And how do I know, or how would you know that you are not that client? Because some of my clients will die, and all of them are in the same kind of spectrum, the same middle class, upper middle class kind of clients. So how do I know it's not you that will die this year, or become disabled, or get cancer, or have a car accident, or any of these things? So you can't go through life thinking that, it won't happen to me. The second reason why people don't sort out their risk is because risk is a grudge purchase. People don't like to pay for risk because in a certain sense, it almost feels like you're just throwing money into this black hole where it's never going to come back to. It will never come back to you. And in a certain sense, that is exactly correct. The money that you pay towards risk is what we call what-if money. It's money you pay a third party for in case something happens to you. It doesn't build an asset. It doesn't create anything unless the eventuality that you are insured for actually happens. Guys, it doesn't matter what the marketing guys try and sell you on we're going to give you your money back, or give you some of your premiums back in a certain amount of years, or we'll give you this bonus or this retirement plan included in your risk policy. That is all built into the costing. It's just your own money. So I've got a very big problem with companies that sell their risk products on all of these bells and whistles and all of these extra bonuses and things. Because basically what happens is, if you're looking at one of the specific companies that promise they're going to give you all your premiums back in 15 years. But then when you read the small print, they say that your premium is increased by 30% a month. So 30%, you're paying 30% more for that benefit. So here's what they're basically doing is, instead of paying 1,000 Rand a month for your risk, you're paying 1,300 Rand a month for your risk. So you're giving them 300 Rand of your money. And then you're telling them, here's my money, you keep it, and then you tell me what I should do to get my money back. So now you're giving them your money for no reason, and now they give you prerequisites and conditions for you to get your own money back from them. So you can't claim, you can't change your benefits. All of those things have to happen. You have to keep paying your risk policy for 15 years, even if your needs change and you don't need that whole amount of risk anymore. You can't move to another company that gives you a cheaper premiums, because then you don't get your own money back. My opinion is, why don't I just keep the 300 Rand? Pay the 1,000 Rand for my risk, keep the 300 Rand and rather invest it myself, and then I don't have any conditions, it's my money. If the money's sitting in an account or sitting in an investment, I can access that money because it's mine. I don't have to wait for the insurance company to tell me what I need to do to get my own money back. Guys, it doesn't make sense. I see people paying 1,000, 2,000 Rand a month more than they should on risk because of, I'm going to get this bonus back in 5 years. Guys, it doesn't make sense. So it's what we call what if money. So any risk cover is what if money. Don't expect any investment coming back to you or any savings built up. If you don't, like car insurance, if you take out car insurance and you've paid for that month, let's say you pay 1,000 Rand for the month in car insurance. If you haven't had an accident or you haven't had a claim in that month, that money is gone. The insurance company takes that money. The analogy that I use with how insurance works is basically a gambling proposition. So on the one side of the table, the insurance company's representatives sit, and on the other side of the table, you sit. And you then tell them, listen, I think I'm going to die this month. If I die, you're going to give me 5 million Rand. But I'm willing to bet 1,000 Rand that I am going to die this month. So if I win, you're going to give my family 5 million Rand. If I don't win, if I don't die, then you keep the 1,000 Rand. The insurance company, through their actuaries, calculate the risk involved, and they say, well, okay, we'll take that bet. You put your 1,000 Rand down, they put their 5 million down, and then we go through the month. If you haven't died that month, they say, well, fantastic, give us our 1,000 Rand, we won this bet. Do you want this bet again next month? And then you say, yes, I'm going to die this month. So I'll put my 1,000 Rand down. If I die, you give me 5 million. If I don't, you keep the 1,000. And this keeps going on an automatic system for as long as you are willing to take that bet. And that's the principle of insurance. You put something on the table that if that happens, they will give you something in a higher value. The insurance company takes the risk to say that we think that this event is not going to occur, so we are happy to take that risk on. So the moment you start taking bonuses and kickbacks or paybacks and all of these things, you're just paying too much for that risk instead of taking your own money and just investing it for yourself. So the focus, and I believe that the financial services industry's focus has been wrong for a long time. Typically, the focus of a financial advisor or a broker when they come and see a client is to say, what have you got? And then they try and beat what you've got. But then it becomes a product-driven system. So they say, well, you've got 3 million life cover with company A. We will give you 3.2 million life cover with company B for the same premium. And then we'll give you this bell and this whistle or whatever the case may be. The problem is, do you need 3.2 million life cover? Is it enough? Is it too much? Is it too little? What does it actually do, this 3.2 million life cover? So our approach, and I believe that that's the right approach, is not what have you got. It is what do you need first. So that's the first thing. We determine what it is that you need. And only once we've determined that do you then build something that does exactly that. No more, no less. Because you do not want to pay more money for your risk than you absolutely should pay for the need. So make sure that you always look at it from what do you need first, not what have you got. Okay, and over time what you want to do is you want to reduce your risk over time. And you do that by building assets, which comes at one of our stages or one of our steps at a later stage. Step 4, invest in income generating assets. You want to build and invest in assets that generate income as a result of the asset, not what you do in the asset. And as you build these income streams that will generate income whether you can work or can't work, your need for risk cover reduces. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, if you pass away tomorrow, your spouse would need 10,000 Rand a month from your side. But you have a property that gives you rental income of 3,000 Rand per month. So if you pass away and you didn't have that property, we need to make provision for enough capital that can be invested to give your wife 10,000 Rand a month. If you have a property, we only have to make provision for 7,000 Rand per month because she's already getting 3,000 Rand. So we need less capital to get her to a 10,000 Rand a month net income. And that's what we want to do. As your assets grow, your need for risk reduces so that the money that you don't have to spend on risk anymore can be redistributed to build more assets and build momentum. And that should be your idea and your goal going forward with your risk. And that's again the problem I have with these bonuses, structures that they build or bind people into. Because now you sit, one of the companies that offers these bonuses and paybacks and all of these things, they then force you to keep risk cover that you probably don't need anymore. Otherwise, it affects your payout that you would get on retirement. Guys, how does that make sense? Why would you pay for risk cover that you don't need just because you get a payout? It's like if we look at the car insurance analogy again, it's like saying, well, I've taken out insurance on my car and I'm going to get a cashback bonus in 2 years. But then in 18 months you sell that car, but you keep paying the insurance on the car that you don't have anymore just so that you can get the cashback bonus. Does it make sense? But these are the things that people do with their life insurance every single day. They pay for insurance that they don't need just to get money back, which they could have gotten back if they just used their own money in the first place. The third one is that people find these things very abstract. It's very difficult to create a tangible benefit that you feel and see because you don't understand why and what you are paying for exactly. I mean, you talk about these figures, 3 million Rand, 300,000 Rand. What do these things actually mean and where does it fit in? The best way to do that is to start by first understanding exactly what it is that you need to cover. Because only once you know exactly where your gaps are and where you have needs, can you create something that does that so that you can connect the two to one another. So instead of just having 5 million Rand life cover because the financial advisor said that is reasonable, it's enough, and you can afford it, you need to know that I've got 5 million life cover because 1.5 million goes towards my debt to settle all my debt. 1.5 million goes towards my wife to give her an income every month, and then 2 million then gets invested for my children's education, or however you set it up, so that you know exactly why you have this 5 million. Not just 5 million because it was better than the 4 million I had before. You have to know exactly what it is that you want to achieve. That's why when we sit with a client and we do a risk assessment, the first thing we do is we look at what the needs are. So what would you need in the event that this eventuality happen? What needs to be in place? So if you pass away, how much income would your spouse need? What is your debt situation that needs to be settled? What other capital needs are there that you need to look at? And once we have all of those needs, we then create a plan that does exactly that, so that you can link the two of them together. And that's the only way that you can move from hope to certainty. Because most insurance is sold on hope. People go through life saying, well, I hope that if I get into a car accident, at least my insurance will cover me. Or I hope that if I become disabled, I will have enough money to look after my family. We need to move people from hope to certainty, so that you know that, listen, in the event that this happens, I have this, this, and this in place, and that's how it's going to sort me out. Instead of just hoping that it's going to sort you out. I would rather have a client be in a situation where they understand exactly what they are covered for and not covered for and where it fits in, than hoping that they are covered for everything, only to realize when an eventuality happens that they never have cover for that. One of the things I see quite a lot is people who have income protection benefits, and with the whole COVID thing, with a lot of retrenchments happening, then suddenly wanting to claim for retrenchment on their normal income protection benefit. And then when you explain to them, but that's not what this covers. It covers, income protection covers your loss of income as a result of an accident or an illness, not because of a retrenchment. Then people only see that there was a gap on their retrenchment side. So it's important to understand exactly what you are covered for and what you are not covered for, so that you know when an eventuality happens what your shortfalls are. Okay, so here's something that is also important. I see this a lot as well, is people spending thousands of rands on insurance for their cars and their household goods and their gadgets, their laptops, their cell phones. It's not even that infrequent that people are spending 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 rand a month just on short-term insurance, car, household insurance. And then you sit with that client and you say to them, well, you need to spend 3,000 rand per month on your risk cover, your life cover, your disability, your severe illness, those kind of cover. And they say, but that much money for what? Why do I need to spend that much money on life insurance? And why? Because I'm never going to get anything back from the life insurance. And the analogy I always explain or use is the analogy of the goose that lays the golden eggs. If you had a goose and every morning you woke up, there was a golden egg laid by this goose, and you could go sell that golden egg to generate revenue and then to buy stuff with. What would you insure? Would you insure each egg that the goose lays, or would you rather insure the goose? And the obvious answer is you will insure the goose, because if the egg gets stolen or gets broken, tomorrow there's another egg. You can get another egg again as long as the goose is still healthy and laying eggs. But what do? We go and we invest we insure the eggs. We insure our cars, our household goods, our cell phones. We can't go with that, but we never insure the goose. You are the goose. You are the person that have created all of these eggs that is laid, that cell phone, the car, the house that you're staying in. But it's more important to insure the goose than it is to insure the eggs. But we tend to go through life insuring the eggs and ignoring the insurance on the goose, because we think that, it won't ever happen to me. It's going to happen to somebody else. Now, there's 3 risk areas that you need to look at. When you look at your risk management plan, there's 3 major risk areas that you need to look at. And I call those risk areas life, health, and wealth. Those are the 3 areas: your life area, your health area, and your wealth area. So what does life entail? Now, under that risk area, there are primary and secondary risk areas. So when we look at life, we look at everything related to your life, you as a person. So here we're looking at primary risk areas called, for example, life cover. You need to insure your life so that your dependents have money to replace your income should something happen to you. Capital disability. You need a lump sum payout if you become disabled so that you can pay off debt and make sure that you can do changes to lifestyle. You can build a ramp, you can get a wheelchair, all of these things that need to happen. Income disability. You need to be able to replace your income that you get from your work in the event that you cannot work temporarily or permanently because of an accident or illness. And then the last one, severe illness. If you get a cancer, stroke, or heart attack, any of these major severe illnesses, most of the medical aids won't pay for everything related to that illness or do changes to lifestyle related to that illness. And that's the primary risk areas. Guys, so those are the first. So you determine what your needs are on your primary risk areas and you make sure that they are sorted out first before you start investing money into your secondary risk areas. Now, when I talk about the secondary risk areas, I'm not going to there's hundreds of different secondary risk areas that you can look at. I'm just going to mention a few on each of these areas: the life, the health, and the wealth. So under life, your secondary risk areas are things like premium waivers. What is a premium waiver? It is something that says in the event that you become disabled, you don't have to pay premiums on that risk policy going forward. Educator benefits. That is a benefit that pays for your child's education in the event that you pass away or become disabled. Now, if you look at it in isolation, that educator benefit is a fantastic benefit to have because at least you know your child gets a good education. But it's pointless to have a proper education or educator benefit, but there's no income for the family to eat, to have a place to stay, because there was no proper life cover in place. So you first look at your primary risk areas. Then if you have more affordability, you start addressing secondary risk areas. I see too many people who have all of these secondary benefits, but their primary areas aren't even sorted out. Okay, so educator, future cover. Future cover is a benefit that pre-qualifies you for increases in cover. Doesn't matter what happens to your medical situation moving forward. But again, it's all good and well to know that in 5 years' time I can qualify for an extra R1 million life cover without medical underwriting, but you don't have enough life cover now if you pass away. Cancer cover. There's these companies that phone you and sell people cancer cover and also accident cover. So either accidental death, accidental disability, or just normal accident cover. And they sell this to people but what happens if you have cancer? But then that person doesn't even have proper severe illness cover, which covers cancer, stroke, heart attack, and probably 50 other benefits. So always, when you look at life as a risk area, focus on the primary areas first. Make sure you know exactly what it is that you need, and make sure your primary risk areas sort that out. If you have more affordability that you want and there's a need for that, then you can move to your secondary risk area. So firstly, life, capital disability, income disability, severe illness. Let's look at health. Health is like your medical aid. So it's everything to do with you and your family's wealth. You and your family's health, not wealth. So the first areas, what is the primary risk areas surrounding health? The first one is your major medical benefit. So that's your typical hospitalization cover. That is the cover that you have to go into a hospital, get an operation, or you're in an accident and you go you have to go into a hospital, you have to get treatment there. That's your major medical expenses, and that is one of your primary risk areas. The second primary risk area is your day-to-day cover. That is the cover that you need to be able to go to a doctor if you're ill, go get medication, go get blood tests done, dentistry, all of those kind of things. That's also a primary risk area. So this is something that I see a lot with clients, and I always say that we take out a medical aid for the major expenses. So for the hospitalization, the operations, and those kind of things. But then we tend to use it for the day-to-day. So I see so many clients that say, "No, I just want a hospital plan. I just want to be able to go to a hospital." Then they take out a cover for that. And then 3 months later, they complain because this thing is horrible because it covers nothing. They can't go to the doctor. They can't go to the pharmacy. So we take it out for the major, but we use it for the minor things. So make sure that both of those areas are covered. The third one is chronic medication. So that is to make sure that if you do have any chronic medication, you have cover for that. And the last one is your gap cover. Now, for me, gap cover was always a secondary risk area, but I've actually in the last year or two, I've moved it into a primary risk area. I truly believe that in the environment we're at the moment, it becomes gap cover becomes almost a necessity with your health cover that you have. So what is gap cover? So when you look at medical aids, 100% cover doesn't really mean 100% like it used to. It means that it's 100% covered on medical aid rates, the standard rate that the medical aid have, that they are willing to pay for a specific procedure that needs to be done. But specialists, anesthetists, surgeons, they can charge up to 5 times and sometimes even more than the standard rate that the medical aid is willing to pay, which means you then become responsible for the difference, which can get you into very big financial difficulty. So gap cover covers that difference between what the medical aid is willing to pay and what the specialist is charging. So although it was a secondary risk area for me, I've now moved it into a primary risk area because I do believe that it is something that has become a necessity over time. What is our secondary risk areas on health? The first one is threshold benefit. So that's something you pay for whether you use it or don't use it. So you don't need to have threshold benefit unless you have the affordability to cover for it. Health waivers. So a lot of these health companies have products that they add onto the medical aid that will waive the premium in the event that you become disabled or die for a period of 5 years or 10 years. Now, guys, again, I'm not saying these aren't good benefits. I'm not saying cancel them whenever if you have it. What I'm saying is only look at those benefits once you have made sure that your primary risk area is sorted out 100%. Then you go to the secondary risk areas. And then the next one is medical insurance. So that is like a hospital plan. Now, just to stop on that for a minute. People have a very big misconception between a medical aid and a hospital plan. They're thinking that a medical aid and a hospital plan is the same thing. Typically, the hospital plans that we remember from 10, 15, 20 years ago, those don't exist to that extent anymore. Now it's more they will pay you a specific amount per procedure or per a day in a hospital, where a medical aid will pay the actual expense that was incurred. They are also regulated by 2 separate laws. The medical scheme is regulated by the Medical Schemes Act, and medical insurance is regulated by the Short-Term Insurance Act, which means the rules are different between the two. So please make sure that when you do medical aid, you have a proper medical aid. Medical insurance is not comprehensive enough to make sure that all your primary risk areas are sorted out. Okay, then the last one is wealth. So wealth is all the wealth that you've built, your assets that you need to insure. This is when we look at the analogy with the goose that lays the golden eggs. Your wealth area is your eggs that you are insuring. So we've got life, which is you, the goose. We've got health, which is again the goose, but the goose and the goose's family. And then wealth is the eggs that needs to be insured. So what are the primary risk areas on wealth? This is also typically short-term insurance or car and household insurance, whatever they want to call it. So the typical primary risk areas is household goods. Those are the things that you have in your house, your furniture, your clothing, your TV, your fridge, all of those kind of things are household goods. So it's the contents of your house. Secondly, you've got your vehicles. Those are your car insurance, the insurance on if your car gets stolen or you get into an accident. Thirdly, on your primary risk area is your home owner's insurance or your building insurance. So that is insurance to cover the actual building that your house is. So everything that is a fixture or a fitting to the building is covered through that. So if your house burns down, or if a flood gets into your house or something like that happens, that is your homeowner's insurance. Again, this is something that I see quite a lot. The banks make homeowners insurance compulsory, so you have to have if you have a bond on your house, you must have homeowners insurance, and the banks typically just put it onto your bond, which is not always ideal and not always cost effective, so have a look at that. But I see so many people get confused between homeowners insurance and the life insurance on the bond. So I sit with people and they say, no, but I've got insurance that will pay off my bond in the event that I pass away. And then when we actually look at it, it's not life insurance, it's insurance on the building. So make sure that you have the right insurance for that. And then the last primary risk area is any all risk benefits. So those are things like your cell phones, your laptops, all of those kind of things that you will take with you out of the house, your assets that you will take with you. Secondary risk areas is things like car rental, so that if your car goes in for repairs, you have a car to drive around with. That is a secondary risk area. It's pointless to have car rental, but you don't even have proper car insurance or car insurance that are properly set up in the first place. Secondly, again, excess waivers. So excess waiver, when you have a claim on short-term insurance, there's an excess that you have to pay. You can pay a little extra every month to insure that excess so that you don't have that excess to pay. But that's a secondary risk area. Doesn't help you have an excess waiver, but your insurance isn't sorted out in the first place. Then you have top-up cover, and that is cover that will cover the difference between what you owe on your car and what the payout will be on your car in the first place. So that's also a secondary risk area. So there's a lot of these secondary risk areas that you can look at as well. But again, guys, I'm not saying don't have this cover in place. What I am saying is make sure your primary is sorted out first before you start putting money into secondary risk areas. Make sure that the basics are done first, and then you start taking out the extras. If you want more detail on specifically car insurance, we have a whole show. I think it was like 4 or 5 shows we did all around short-term insurance. So you're welcome to go onto our YouTube channel, go watch those if you want to understand exactly how vehicle insurance works, how the value on your car works, how household goods work, all of those kind of things. You are welcome to go and watch those shows. Guys, thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you for engaging. Thanks, Fricky, for chatting with me. It was really great sharing this information with you. And again, if you have any questions, you are welcome to contact us on info@retirehappy.co.za, and we will respond, or you can engage with us on our Facebook channel, Retire Happy, Instagram, I Retire, and then also YouTube, Retire Happy. So you can have a look at all of those and engage with us there. Have a great weekend, and if you are going on holiday or already on holiday, enjoy it. I will chat with all of you again next week, and our topic for next week will be step 3, become an entrepreneur. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be interesting. So please engage with me, because we're going to talk about what does it actually mean to be an entrepreneur. What's the difference between a transactional and a transformational business? Why? What questions you shouldn't be asking before you start a business, and also what the right and the wrong time is to start a part-time business. So really looking forward to that. Hi guys, Lawrence here. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it informative and you got some benefit out of it. Please add in the comments any questions you might have or any other topics that you would like me to talk about. Please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell button so that you can get notified of any new videos that we post so you don't miss anything. Thanks guys, see you around.